What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Big Fight Field channel, where we speak the truth. We're honest. We give our takes on professional wrestling. It is Wednesday night, February 28th, 2024, and this is your AEW Dynamite review here on the Big Fight Field channel. The last Dynamite for not only the go-home show for AEW Revolution, but the last AEW Dynamite for the icon Sting. They could not have closed the show out on a better note. And it's funny because that segment, from the looks of it and the way it was going to be an absolute dud. You had the Young Bucks out there making their entrance. Darby Allin comes in. He starts attacking the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks easily lay out Darby Allin. Ric Flair comes out. Ric Flair gets taken out. And how does Sting make his appearance on this final episode of Dynamite? From the Rafters. Sting from the Rafters one more time, like it's WCW Nitro. Unbelievable. That is going to go down as one of the coolest moments in AEW Dynamite history. And I'm telling you, that clip is going to be played for years. Sting from the Rafters, Tony Schiavone nearly losing his voice on commentary, yelling down it's Sting. And they went from what looked to be a dud to an amazing moment, and one of the coolest moments ever in AEW history, with Sting jumping down from the rafters of Huntsville, Alabama tonight. The other big moment of the show was the opening segment. Hangman Page worked the fans. And I'm not talking about him with his injury, because it was reported on Thursday that Dave Meltzer had a terrible week last week. He reported last week after Dynamite that Hangman Page broke his ankle in the six-man tag when he teamed with Rob Van Dam and Hook to face Swerve, Samoa Joe, and Brian Cage. Hangman Page did not break his ankle. As a matter of fact, Hangman Page was not even injured after that match. The deal with Hangman was going to miss Revolution because of a personal matter. Hangman is going to be at Revolution after tonight. How did he get there? We're going to talk about it. It solidified the double turn between Hangman Page and Swerve. And I saw people questioning on social media, why would you have Hangman go out there and fake an injury for 10 minutes just for him to work the fans? Because the whole goal of this segment, numbnuts, was to make Hangman a solidified heel and Swerve a solidified babyface going into the pay-per-view with Samoa Joe. I loved that segment. And then the segment with Will Ospreay and the Don Callis family was as needed. And after tonight, you're like, this match between Ospreay and Takeshita is probably going to be one of AEW's best matches of the entire year. It does not need build to it, because you are going to get one of the best matches of the year. And I'll talk more about this tomorrow night with Hammer Johnson AEW Revolution predictions tomorrow night, by the way. Myself, Cameron Johnson, here on the Big Fight Field channel. My buddy Cam actually going to be at the pay-per-view on Sunday, which we'll talk more about tomorrow night. But I think after this match, the Don Callis family is going to be laying out Will Ospreay after Will Ospreay defeats the Don Callis family. So, for a second week in a row, the promos and the talking segments were better than the wrestling on this show. Not saying the wrestling was terrible, but the segments and the promo were much better than the matches on the show. Because last week you had the Sting vignette promo with him and Darby Allin. You had the Daniel Garcia promo with Christian Cage. And there was something else that happened on the show that I can't wrap my head around, or I can't remember. I don't know. But I know Daniel Garcia had his promo last week. Sting had his promo with Darby Allin in the vignette. Something else happened on the show last week, and I can't fucking remember what it was. Whatever. I'm just going to skip by it because I don't want to waste my time. But you get my point. These segments outweighed the matches. The matches had no impact on the show. It had no impact on the show, and it had no impact on the pay-per-view on Sunday outside of the first match of the night, which I really was not a fan of. But we're going to get into it all. This shouldn't be too long of a video, too long of a review. Tomorrow night, we're going to be here a while. Tomorrow night is the AEW Revolution predictions with myself and Cameron Johnson. We're going to be talking about Sting. We're going to be talking every single match happening on the card. Cameron Johnson is going to be at Revolution on Sunday night. The co-host of the Big Fight Field channel, one of two co-hosts of the Big Fight Field channel, my good friend Cameron Johnson, going to be at Revolution. He's going to be on here tomorrow night. We are going to chop it up, talk about this pay-per-view for probably about an hour. So if you can join us tomorrow night here on the channel, we would greatly appreciate that. Friday, probably going to be making a SmackDown video. I would expect the Rock's match is going to be made official for WrestleMania on Friday night. So we're going to do a video on Friday. Saturday, we're going to do a WWE news video because there's been so much goddamn news happening around in WWE this week. I kind of just want to get into it. There's a lot to talk about with what happened on Raw, stuff about Drew McIntyre, Shawn Spears is in NXT. There's a lot to get into. And then Sunday, we're going to end it off with a big Revolution pay-per-view. And of course, right when the review is over, about an hour and a half after the review, I'll be dropping my own review after the pay-per-view is over. And before we get into tonight's Dynamite show, I just want to send my thoughts and prayers to the family members and friends of Virgil Soltran Jones, as he was named on AEW programming once. He was on AEW in 2019 to hype up a Chris Jericho Hangman Page world title match, I believe, at All Out 2019. Virgil only died at the age of 61. So he's a legend in the wrestling business, and it absolutely sucks to see him as pass away today. So my thoughts and prayers go out to his friends and family, and the wrestling world is for sure going to miss Virgil. Let's get into Dynamite. tonight from Huntsville, Alabama. This was the go-home show before Revolution, and this was also Sting's last Dynamite before he retires and calls it a career on Sunday night. The show tonight opened up with Hangman Page, and he came out with a crutch, selling the ankle injury from last week. And he talked about when AEW started, for a lot of people, this was about changing the world. For him, this was a goal. It was a goal of his to get to the top of AEW. And he would like to think that in 2021, when he won the AEW World Championship, he accomplished that goal. Because winning that World Championship in 2021 was the biggest accomplishment of his career. The crowd clapped their hands, made noise, and they chanted cowboy shit. And he says, now, 3 years later, I'm at that same point again, where I'm challenging for the World Championship on pay-per-view, but a freak injury happened. And unfortunately, because of everything surrounding this ankle injury, and it's not doing well, he said, unfortunately, at the pay-per-view, I will not be medically cleared to compete. So I thought for sure that he was not going to wrestle at this pay-per-view when he said that. And I kind of got it in the back of my mind. Like, okay, they're saying that the ankle injury is not legit, but he has personal life problems going on that he might have to take care of. It's no one's speculation of that, but I thought there'd be a good chance he's going to miss the pay-per-view. Out comes Swerve with Prince Nana, and Swerve was acting sympathetic towards Hangman tonight. He was like, me and you, we've been to war for each other for 6 months, and I've done some bad things, I'll admit it, during those 6 months, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that the reason I came after you in the first place is because I respect all the accomplishments that you've had in this company. I want to have the accomplishments that you have. And he says, for it to all end like this, it's kind of disappointing because we've been through so much together in these 6 months. And now this happens. You injure your ankle, and now you're not wrestling at the pay-per-view. And he says the goal is still, as it always was for me, and it's to become the world champion. This brought out Samoa Joe. And kind of got the feeling when Swerve was standing at the ropes, Hangman was standing behind him, this man was going to pull the trigger. But Swerve, he sold himself on the microphone tonight as to why he should get even more fan popularity going into Revolution. He says, you don't get it, Joe. After Joe cut his promo, he says, I don't care if it's just Swerve or it's the both of you. At Revolution, I'm going to whoop both your asses. He basically cut the same promo as 2 weeks ago. But Swerve gets on the microphone and he says, no, you're not going anywhere, Joe. You don't respect my career, and I take that personally. He says, I went from unemployed to headlining a pay-per-view for the World Championship. I went from being a cruiserweight to a main eventer. I've built myself up for years to be ready for this exact moment, and on Sunday, I am going to take it because I will stop at nothing to become the AEW World Champion, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to be the champion. And after he says that Hangman Page cracks him over the back with the crutch, and he worked the fans. The fans booed. Hangman's obsession with Swerve continues, and the story has been not with some. I mean, Samoa Joe, yes, he is a part of the match, and he is in the story. But this story is between Swerve and Hangman, if we're being for real. I'll say it. I said it last week. I've said it numerous times. I'll say it again. The story going into this match is Hangman Page has fucking lost it. He's absolutely obsessed with Swerve Strickland and making sure Swerve Strickland never wins the World Championship, to the point where I believe if Samoa Joe retains the World Championship, Hangman is not going to be mad because Swerve didn't win the championship. And he's been obsessed with Swerve throughout this entire feud with him and Samoa Joe. So, Hangman works the fans. He is going to be wrestling at the pay-per-view, and the triple threat match is going to be awesome. I can't wait. After this, we go to a six-man tag. FTR and Eddie Kingston against Moxley, Bryan Danielson, and Claudio, the Blackpool Combat Club. I did not like this. Straight up. I did not like this for two reasons. Number one, you had two matches that are taking place at the pay-per-view in one match. They were all wrestling each other tonight. So, how excited are we going to feel when these guys lock up on Sunday? The match is going to be awesome. Eddie Kingston and Danielson is going to be awesome. I'm pretty sure FTR and the Blackpool Combat Club are going to have a great match. But how much more excited can we get when the past couple weeks we've seen Dax wrestle Moxley, FTR wrestle the Blackpool Combat Club, FTR wrestle the Blackpool Combat Club in a six-man tag. Now they're wrestling in another tag team match at the pay-per-view. Are we supposed to feel the same excitement for the pay-per-view? Because we've seen them in the ring with each other 3 times in the past 3 weeks. So my point is, you could have done any mixture. You could have done Dax Harwood versus Danielson. You could have done Cash Wheeler versus Bryan Danielson. You could have done Eddie Kingston versus whoever. You didn't need to put these 6 men in the ring together, because now they're wrestling each other tonight, and now they're going to be wrestling on each other on Sunday. And now my question is, are you going to be any more excited about seeing them wrestle each other again because you saw them wrestle tonight? And I'm not talking about Danielson and Eddie Kingston, because they're going to tell an amazing story. They're going to have a fantastic match. I'm not complaining about that at all. I'm complaining about the tag team match. That's my worry. And second, the match went way too long. The match was really long, in my opinion. So I'm not going to go over this match move for move. Danielson choked out Eddie Kingston with a triangle chokehold, and he wouldn't let go after the match. He was relaying a message to Eddie Kingston when the match was over. And, basically tells you right there that Bryan Danielson is not going over at the pay-per-view on Sunday. Backstage, the Young Bucks have arrived, and they are looking for Sting's locker room. So they're just roaming the hallways of the arena in Huntsville, Alabama, wherever they were at tonight. Tony Schiavone was in the ring, and he introduced Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay is now a full-time wrestler in AEW. And I cannot tell you how excited I am for this man in AEW. Did you hear the reception that he got tonight in fucking Huntsville, Alabama? Imagine what he's going to get when he goes to bigger markets, when he goes to bigger wrestling markets for AEW shows. It's going to be amazing. It is going to be amazing. And if he keeps getting receptions like this, he's going to be he's going to be one of AEW's top baby faces. He's going to be up there with MJF and Swerve and Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy as far as top baby faces in AEW. Very simple segment. Ospreay acted like a babyface, happy with the crowd. He said he lost his luggage bags at the airport, but luckily he found them. It took a couple of hours, but he found them. And now he's all elite full time. He said 3 months ago that he needed to finish his obligations with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he finished his obligations with New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's now in the States for AEW, and even though that he's here full time now, he's pretty familiar with this territory as he's had 3 big time matches on pay-per-view in AEW. And he runs down that he's beaten Orange Cassidy at Forbidden Door. He's beaten Kenny Omega at Forbidden Door last year. And last year at the All-In show in Wembley, he defeated Chris Jericho. And now it brings him to Revolution. And he talks about Don Callis. And as soon as he talks about Don Callis and the Don Callis family, they come out. Callis gives Ospreay a big hug, as does Will Hobbs. Takeshita just stares a soul into Will Ospreay. Callis says, "This is great. I got you the big match with Kenny Omega at Forbidden Door, and I was there with you every step of the way, and you defeated Kenny Omega in his home country. And how could we have made that bigger? By making you wrestle in your hometown country against one of the best, Chris Jericho, and you beat him. You beat him in Wembley. And how could we top that? By having not only the best wrestling match of the year, but Callis called this the best wrestling match of the decade. And he says on Sunday, no matter who wins, the Don Callis family is going to win no matter what." So he obeys Ospreay and Takeshita to shake hands. Both of them shake hands. Takeshita doesn't let go of the handshake. Then Ospreay doesn't let go of the handshake. They both get in each other's faces. And Callis goes, "This is great. This is great. Can't wait for Sunday." So, I'm telling you, man, this match is probably going to be match of the night. And for all the people who like, "Oh, I need a 6-week build. I need a good story." Here's what the story is for this match. It's the best wrestler in the world against one of the best young wrestlers in the world in Konosuke Takeshita. You're going to shut up, and you're going to enjoy the masterpiece that these guys give us on Sunday night. The story will come after the match when the Callis family turns on Will Ospreay because it's going to happen. Will Ospreay does not need the Don Callis family. So we then go from that to Orange Cassidy defending the International Championship against Nick Wayne. I'm not complaining about the match. The match was great. I'm not going over the match and move by move. If you haven't watched the match, you can go back and watch it. The match was great. This made no sense. It completely disobeyed, I guess you can say, the AEW rankings. It made it look like shit, and it made no sense. It would have been much better if Tony Khan made this match Daniel Garcia versus Nick Wayne. That would have made a lot of sense, considering Garcia is wrestling Christian Cage on Sunday at the pay-per-view. That would have made more sense than Orange Cassidy against Nick Wayne. But it brings out the Undisputed Kingdom mid-match. And then Trent and Rocky come down and they brawl with the Undisputed Kingdom. And Orange Cassidy hits Nick Wayne with the Orange Punch. Once Nick Wayne sees Daniel Garcia, Nick Wayne turns around. He takes the Orange Punch. And that's the match. That was the match. Chris Statlander against Willow Nightingale. I gotta be honest with you, I was making dessert during this match. I only saw the ending, but the ending was not bad, and it might foreshadow things in the future with the Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale, Stokely Hathaway group. Statlander caught Willow and Stokely arguing on the ring apron. She told this, and she told them to figure it out. And Aubrey Edwards, like a dumbass, for some reason went over to check on them. This allowed Julia Hart to get in the ring, hit Statlander with the TBS Championship, and Sky Blue hit the Code Blue onto Chris Statlander for the win. And the Code Blue was the move of the night for Dynamite. Much better than last week's move of the night being Madison Rayne getting dumped on her head, dumping herself on her head from a DDT from Deonna Purrazzo. The match was terrible. The worst match I've seen all this year was that match. But Sky Blue wins. What this means with the Statlander, Willow Nightingale, Stokely Hathaway group, I think Statlander's been a babyface for way too long. You're not going to turn Willow Nightingale into a heel. That would be dumb. She is a natural babyface. So what is going to happen? Chris Statlander is going to turn on Willow Nightingale, and Stokely Hathaway is going to be her manager. That's where I see this going. We then get to Chris Jericho versus Atlantis Jr. from CMLL. Now, this match was announced earlier in the day, and believe it or not, they told you a story. I know, right? Whether you like it or not, they told you a story about this match on Instagram. And then, get this, people are complaining about the CMLL wrestlers and they should be getting video packages and they should be describing who they are. Guess what? Excalibur sat on commentary for 2 minutes to explain the history between Chris Jericho and Atlantis Senior in Mexico when Chris Jericho first started wrestling. And Chris Jericho told the story about that for 30 years ago, and he wanted to introduce Atlantis Junior to the pro wrestling business in America. Over 30 years after Atlantis' tag team with Corazon de Leon, Chris Jericho, he will be in his son's corner versus his former partner when Atlantis Jr. fights Chris Jericho. They played a 2-minute video package to introduce you who Atlantis Jr. was and what was the history between Chris Jericho and Atlantis Sr. in Mexico. You people can shut up now. Chris Jericho got the win. The match was fine, and they all celebrated with each other at the end. And I'm confused about this because at the end, Tony Khan announced before the show that they were competitors in the Meat Madness match that were not medically cleared to compete. So it's being pushed back to a later date, and instead we're getting an all-star scramble. What the winner gets of this all-star scramble, I have no idea. But here's the confusing part. All three guys who were supposed to be in Meat Madness, Wardlow, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Lance Archer, they are all in this scramble. So my question is, and my logic gap here is, why did we axe out Meat Madness for this all-star scramble? I don't understand that. We're getting qualifying matches with a CMLL wrestler. I can't remember who his name is. I apologize. He's taking on Matt Sydal on Rampage. And then Saturday on Collision, we're getting Brian Keith, Penta, and I believe Trent, with the winner going on to this 8-man scramble. So I have no idea why this is on pay-per-view. Chris Jericho is in the match, so it gets him on the pay-per-view. This match is Jericho, Powerhouse Hobbs, Lance Archer, Wardlow, Hook, Brian Cage, and 2 more guys to be named. So there you go. Makes no sense, but whatever. And then the last segment of this show involved the Young Bucks, Darby Allin, Ric Flair, and Sting. The Young Bucks come down. They're making their entrance. They've been looking for Sting all night. They've been looking for Sting all night. They got baseball bats in hand. Darby Allin attacks them from behind. And it doesn't take long until the Young Bucks take out Darby Allin. They lay out Darby Allin, and Ric Flair comes out. So the Young Bucks are excited because they had an agreement with Ric Flair last week. Ric Flair, he grabs a baseball bat. He acts like he's about to hit Darby Allin. He pokes Nick Jackson in the eye. He gives some punches to Matt Jackson. And he takes a low blow from Nick Jackson. He could barely fall down. It was almost embarrassing. Then the Young Bucks, they're posing around the ring. And out comes Sting. But Sting does not come out from the tunnel. Sting jumps down from the rafters of Huntsville, Alabama, to ringside and attacks the Young Bucks. Lays out Nick Jackson Sting, Darby, and Ric Flair stand tall on the Go Home show. I said it in the intro. I'll say it again. That segment went from being what could have been an absolute dud before Sting came out to an amazing moment and one of the coolest moments in AEW Dynamite history. So, if you did not watch the show, this was a very skippable show. I advise you go on YouTube and you watch the segment that closed out the show with the Young Bucks, Darby Allin, Ric Flair, Sting. You can watch the opening segment with Hangman Page, Swerve, and Samoa Joe. And that's all you watch. Nothing else really mattered on this show. So, before we get out of here, let's run down the card for Revolution. There are 9 main card matches. We have the All-Star 8-Man Scramble, Chris Jericho, Powerhouse Hobbs, Lance Archer, Wardlow, Hook, Brian Cage, and 2 more mystery spots. I'll know by tomorrow because they taped Rampage on Saturday last week, and they are taping Collision tonight from Huntsville, Alabama. So I'll get the results tonight. And spoiler alert, if you care about spoilers, I'm saying spoiler tomorrow. We have another tag team match between FTR against Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli. Will Ospreay goes one-on-one with Konosuke Takeshita, which should be a fucking classic. Eddie Kingston defends the AEW Continental Crown against Bryan Danielson. Christian Cage defends the TNT Championship against Daniel Garcia. Orange Cassidy defends the International Championship against Roderick Strong. Toni Storm defends the AEW Women's Championship against Deonna Purrazzo. Samoa Joe defends the AEW World Championship in a triple threat match against Hangman Adam Page and Swerve. And what should be your main event Sunday evening for the AEW Tag Team Championships in a Tornado Tag Team match. Sting's last match. It'll be Sting and Darby Allin defending the AEW Tag Team titles versus the Young Bucks. So, folks, that is all I got for you. That is your Revolution card on Sunday night. Again, if you want my predictions for the show, you got to tune in tomorrow night when me and my co-host Cameron Johnson talk about this absolute banger of a pay-per-view that's going to happen on Sunday. The video should be up around 9:30 tomorrow night. So be on the lookout for that. And I'm getting out of here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Comment down below. Hit the like button if you like what you heard from me. And follow me on Twitter. Colin_Joseph. I'm a very busy man this week. And I look forward to it, man. I will see you guys tomorrow night with myself and Cameron Johnson. Have a good night. Stay safe. And as always, stay classy. And I'm out. Peace. I am